America, one nation indivisible. There is Red America versus Blue America, Real America versus Berkeley and Washington, D.C., Christians versus secularists, freedom-loving patriots versus despotic Marxists, moose burger appreciators versus arugula munchers, regular schmoes versus liberal elites, black radicals, militant homosexuals, and subversive illegals. Once upon a time in America, there were genuine radical progressives who fomented class warfare by pitting the working class against the robber barons. Such people are hard to find these days. Radical conservatives have supplanted them. For almost 40 years, the right wing has been studiously developing a new class consciousness. The new class is not delineated by income. It is vaguely circumscribed by a black cloud of animosity and hysteria that right-wing leaders have composed from assorted bits of race, religion, ideology, education, geography, and culture. Each year it seeps deeper into the nation's bones. It will not be easy to excise this cancer. Thank you very much. We'll now do some questions, I guess, followed by the signing. Afterwards, if anyone wants to join us, there's a bar at Amsterdam and 84th, George Keeley. We'll be going there for a drink afterwards. I hope everyone can come. So maybe some questions? Yes.
Didn't Theodore Roosevelt run as a progressive?
Yes, and Glenn Beck. Sorry, the question was, didn't Theodore Roosevelt run as progressive? The progressive movement was actually neither straight-up Republican or straight-up Democrat. There were progressives in both parties at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. Glenn Beck has, I believe he rejects Teddy Roosevelt, but he's particularly concerned about Wilson, who he essentially sees as some kind of Satan who was setting in motion a century, 100-year plot to destroy America. You can go to glennbeck.com if you want the details. I talk a little bit more about it in I have a chapter on Glenn Beck where I talk about his details.
Teddy Roosevelt was acceptable.
Glenn Beck has he's very open about who he's a big tent philosophy about who he'll include in his conspiracy theories. Yes.
Michael, in light of the aftermath of the election, where do you see the Democrats going? What have they learned? What have they not learned?
Briefly, I think we're gonna find out. They're still finding their ground, and there's a lot of divisions among the Democrats now. Some, like Obama, who are favoring compromise, and some who are on the left who are rejecting any compromise and want to take a hard line and fight fire with fire. One of the things that I argue is that certainly the extremism needs to be called out, and that the only thing that has proven repeatedly to stop the growth of paranoia is to, across the political spectrum, challenge these ideas. And I would hope that happens. However, I don't really see that happening right now. I see, a very active challenge on the left, but on the far left, I think no one's going to respond to it. And I see the moderates as being very conciliatory, not only in their politics in terms of making deals, but also in their rhetoric, and really not challenging the type of paranoia and the type of stories that the right has been using. I've argued on CNN also that I think the left, the Democrats, really need to get a story. They really need a narrative. And one of the tools of persecution politics has been this great story that has good guys, good guys and bad guys, battling it out, and it's seduced a lot of people. And the left really doesn't have a good story, so I hope they'll get one, but I'm not optimistic at this point.
Well, as a postscript to that, it always seems like the Democrats are on the defensive. It's sort of like the ghost of Lee Atwater keeps reinventing itself. Why is that? Why are they unable to counter that? They always seem to be in defensive mode, don't they?
So the question is, why are the Democrats in defensive mode? I see what the Democrats are doing is a lot what the Republicans had done in prior to the 1970s, where the Republicans were for 40 years a minority party, and they basically eked out what compromises they could get, and responded to challenges by going more moderate. They had Goldwater was an exception of somebody on the right, but then they lost so big with Goldwater, they said, okay, we got to go back to the middle. And that kind of mentality is pretty strong among the Democrats right now. Whenever they get beaten, they go to the middle. Whenever Republicans get beaten, they go to the right. What that means is everybody's going right. And until what the Republicans have been doing starts being challenged more, I see us continuing that trend.
Hi. The modern occurrence of this persecution politics that you see in the United States, do you think it's unique to the United States, or is it, more a global phenomenon? But if it's only in America, why do you think that is?
So it depends if you're talking broadly. It's a great question. The question was, is persecution politics a global phenomenon, or is it a national phenomenon? It's a particularly American phenomenon. And the answer is that broadly speaking, it's global. It's human. It's human nature in a way. Take for example, this is a fairly extreme case, but in the former Yugoslav Republic, when Serbians were attacking Muslims in Bosnia, they were claiming to be the victims. They would present them as defending themselves against Turkish aggression, sort of appealing to centuries-old legend and centuries-old history where the Serbs were the victim. So this idea of claiming the victim claiming to be the victim as an excuse for attacking a minority is not new. What is more new and more American is particularly using the specific language of civil rights. That really very much comes from the civil rights movement, talking about their First Amendment rights, for example, like you wouldn't necessarily be, might not be talking about in a country that doesn't have a First Amendment. Or talking about separation of church and state and the religion of secular humanism and how that's persecuting Christians. So it's a human phenomenon with an American twist. Okay, one or two more questions. Yes.
The Republican right that is emerging as a powerful force that you've documented. Are they aware that the demographics are not in their favor in terms of the, immigration, Hispanics? Are they making efforts to reach out to the very people that they're scared of in a way?
So the question is: Are the leaders of persecution politics movement, are they aware of the demographic change where the U.S. is becoming less white and more Hispanic? The answer is not only are they aware of it, they use it as a recruiting tool. Pat Buchanan will talk a lot about how America is losing, he called it losing our ethno-cultural core, which reminds me of Star Trek. I think of we're losing the we're losing our ethno-cultural core, Captain. They don't. Unlike George W. Bush and Karl Rove, who actually were trying to make inroads among Hispanics, the leaders of the persecution politics have not been. These are the folks who are behind the laws in Arizona, which again, they'll talk about, oh, we just need to defend, white Arizona from the racist Hispanics that are trying to take it over. Their strategy is to focus on the base and build this very strong base that controls the Conservative Party. And, for now, it's going to work. I mean, they may have to change. There are some that have reached out to African Americans and Hispanics. We may see that starting to change, but for now, it's not been. One more if it's quick.
What do you make of the Republican National Committee contest now? They're trying to get out the incumbent, and what do you make of that little struggle?
Yeah. So there's the RNC is currently trying to the Republican National Convention. Michael Steele, the black leader of the black chairman of the Republican National Committee for the past 2 years, I think, or maybe it's 4 years. His term is done, and he's trying to run again. And Republicans really don't want him to run because they really, they want to present themselves as, a party open to all races, and they like having, a black guy at the helm, but they don't like Michael Steele. So I think for a lot of reasons, there are a lot of reasons not to like Michael Steele. I wouldn't like Michael Steele if I was a Republican either. But they don't want to act too aggressively, so they were hoping he would just bow out, which he seems like he's not going to do. So I'm going to enjoy the sit back, eat the popcorn, and enjoy the entertainment until they get that figured out. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.